Hello everyone, and welcome back to History of the Ancient World. Today we're journeying back in time, not just to look at empires and battles, but to explore the very roots of how we understand the universe. We're diving into the fascinating world of science in antiquity. It's easy to think of science as a modern invention, with laboratories and supercomputers. But the truth is, the fundamental questions, what is the world made of? Why do the stars move? How does the human body work, are as old as civilization itself. The ancient world was buzzing with curiosity, observation, and brilliant minds who laid the groundwork for everything that followed. From the stargazing priests of Mesopotamia to the philosophical giants of Greece, this was the dawn of reason, the first incredible attempt to explain the world not through myths alone, but through logic and evidence. So buckle up as we explore the incredible scientific achievements of our ancient ancestors. Let's start our journey in the Fertile Crescent, with the civilizations of Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. These societies were built on agriculture, which meant they were at the mercy of the seasons and the rivers. Survival depended on predicting floods and knowing when to plant. This practical need gave birth to two of the oldest sciences, astronomy and mathematics. The Babylonians, for instance, were meticulous astronomers. For centuries, they recorded the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets on clay tablets. They weren't just stargazing for fun. They were creating detailed astronomical diaries. This allowed them to predict lunar and solar eclipses with stunning accuracy. They developed a sophisticated mathematical system based on the number 60. Which, by the way, is the reason we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. Their legacy is literally written on our clocks. Meanwhile, over in ancient Egypt, the annual flooding of the Nile was the lifeblood of their civilization. To manage this, they needed to resurvey the land every year after the floodwaters receded. This practical problem drove the development of geometry, which literally means earth measuring. The Egyptians became masters of calculating areas and volumes, skills they put to monumental use in constructing the pyramids. The incredible precision of these structures is a testament to their advanced understanding of mathematics and engineering. In medicine, the Egyptians were also pioneers. The famous Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts in the world, contains hundreds of remedies and spells for various ailments. While their medicine was a mix of practical observation and magic, it shows a systematic effort to understand diseases and treatments, including knowledge of anatomy gained through the practice of mummification. They identified different organs and understood to some extent the role of the heart and the pulse. Now, let's travel across the Mediterranean to ancient Greece, where a revolution in thought was taking place. While the Egyptians and Babylonians focused on practical how, the Greeks began to ask a deeper question. Why? This shift marks the birth of what we might call theoretical science and philosophy. It all started in the city of Miletus, with thinkers like Thales, who is often called the first scientist. He dared to suggest that natural phenomena, like earthquakes, weren't caused by angry gods, but by natural processes. He famously proposed that everything was ultimately made of water. Now, he was wrong about the water part, but the approach was revolutionary, seeking a natural, universal explanation for the world. This kicked off a vibrant tradition of inquiry. His student, Anaximander, proposed that life originated in the sea and that celestial bodies were wheels of fire. This intellectual fire spread across the Greek world. Think of Pythagoras and his followers, who believed the universe was governed by mathematics. They saw numerical ratios in musical harmony, and the movements of the planets leading to the idea of a music of the spheres. It was a beautiful concept that the cosmos was an ordered, harmonious system that could be understood through numbers. Then came the atomists, like Democritus, who put forward the mind-bending idea that everything is made of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms moving in a void. This was a purely philosophical deduction, made over 2,000 years before we had any experimental proof. It's an absolutely staggering intellectual leap, showing the power of pure reason to get incredibly close to the truth. These thinkers, known as the pre-Socratics, were laying the foundations of physics, cosmology, and metaphysics. The Golden Age of Athens brought us three of the most influential thinkers in all of history: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. While Socrates focused more on ethics, his method of relentless questioning laid the groundwork for logical reasoning. His student Plato proposed his theory of forms, suggesting that the physical world is just a shadow of a more real, but perfect world of ideas. For Plato, true knowledge came from philosophical reason, not from observing the messy, imperfect world around us. But it was Plato's student, Aristotle, who truly became the father of empirical science. Aristotle was insatiably curious about everything. He believed that knowledge began with observation. He dissected animals to understand their anatomy. He studied marine life. He classified hundreds of species of plants and animals, laying the foundations of biology and zoology. He wrote about physics, proposing that objects move towards their natural place. He developed a system of formal logic that would dominate Western thought for 2 millennia. While many of his specific scientific conclusions were later proven wrong, his method, observe, classify, and theorize, was the blueprint for science for centuries to come. He was, in essence, the first great encyclopedist of the natural world. The scientific flame of Greece didn't die out with Aristotle. After the conquests of Alexander the Great, the center of learning shifted to the city he founded in Egypt, Alexandria. This Hellenistic period was a golden age for science. The city's great library and museum became a magnet for the brightest minds of the ancient world. Here science became more specialized and mathematical. Think of Euclid, whose book Elements became the definitive textbook for geometry for over 2,000 years. If you've ever studied geometry in school, you've walked in Euclid's footsteps. Then there was Archimedes of Syracuse, perhaps the greatest inventor and mathematician of antiquity. He calculated pi with remarkable accuracy, developed principles of mechanics like the lever and the pulley, and famously shouted "Eureka!" after discovering the principle of buoyancy while in his bath. His work combined mathematical genius with practical engineering in a way that was truly ahead of its time. In the field of astronomy, Alexandria was unparalleled. Aristarchus of Samos proposed a heliocentric model of the solar system, placing the sun, not the earth, at the center. This was nearly 1,800 years before Copernicus. Unfortunately, his idea was too radical for its time and didn't catch on. Later, Eratosthenes performed an incredible feat. By measuring the angle of the sun's rays in 2 different cities on the summer solstice, he calculated the circumference of the Earth with an accuracy of about 90%. Think about that for a moment. Over 2,000 years ago, with just sticks, shadows, and brilliant geometry, a man measured the entire planet. And then there was Claudius Ptolemy, whose work represents the culmination of ancient astronomy. His geocentric model, with the Earth at the center and planets moving in complex circles, was so mathematically sophisticated that it became the accepted model of the universe for the next 1,400 years. While ultimately incorrect, it was a masterpiece of scientific modeling based on the available data. So what can we take away from this incredible journey through ancient science? First, the spirit of inquiry is timeless. The desire to understand our world is a fundamental part of the human experience. Second, science builds on itself. The Greeks built on the foundations of the Babylonians and Egyptians, and the Romans and later civilizations built upon the Greeks. It's a continuous chain of knowledge passed down through generations. And finally, even when they were wrong, they were often brilliantly wrong. Their theories were based on the best evidence and logic they had at the time. The journey of science isn't just about getting the right answers. It's about learning to ask the right questions and developing the methods to find those answers. The legacy of these ancient pioneers is not just in their specific discoveries, but in the powerful idea that the universe is knowable, that we can use our reason and our senses to unravel its deepest mysteries. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of science in the ancient world. It's a powerful reminder that the foundations of our modern technological society were laid thousands of years ago by curious minds gazing at the stars, measuring the land, and asking why. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to History of the Ancient World for more journeys into our incredible past. Let me know in the comments which ancient scientific achievement you find most impressive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.